Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Pregame Network Podcast. This is episode 101. I am your host, Dan, joined as always by my bestest pal, Anthony.
Hello.
And hello. We're here to talk about the stuff that happened this past week in video games. Now,
Oh yeah.
gonna warn you right up front, I don't have a whole lot of stuff. I had kind of a crazy week. So I don't have a whole lot. I'm sure I'll springboard off of whatever Anthony says, but
I'll
um,
try and fill the
as
gaps
you
with some ranting, and as much as I know how much you love that.
Oh yeah, it's the highlight of my week.
Oh,
Um,
wonderful.
as always, we'll begin with what we've been playing this week, and then roll into whatever news we've dug up. I think I went last week, so you could take it.
Sure. I mean, my plate was kind of sparse. It's been pretty much the status quo. You know, I've been playing some Rivals, playing some Finals. I played a little bit more Genshin Impact than I have been the last couple weeks, just because they expanded the starter zone, and
Okay.
it's one of my favorite zones. So they finally added like they. It's kind of weird because like they keep the base area the same, and it feels very. People describe it as 1.0 ish because it was, it's the game's been running for a long fucking time. It's kind
Yeah.
of like if you go into an MMO and you compare newer expansion zones to older expansion zones and what you remember when you first started playing, and it's an interesting contrast because you go further north or you look further north and you see this complex artistic structure where like everything is a bit more detailed and the colors are nicer, and I like the exploration in games like that, so I've been feeling that out a little bit. And then we played some Modern Warfare 2019, which is always
Oh
a good
yes,
time, very
love
much
it.
so. You obviously have had your own endeavors in survival horror, which you'll get to, but I just on a whim, I was talking about it with somebody. I'm like, fuck it, and I booted up Resident Evil Director's Cut, the PlayStation
Okay,
version.
the original.
And yeah, the original. Not to bore you with the details, there's vanilla, there's director's cut, and then there's the dual shock director's cut. And along the way, there's different regional steps and different versions of each game. So there's a lot to like. Whenever I go back, I try to pick a version of the game I haven't played in a while, and I haven't played the director's cut version in a while. The last one I played was 1.0 of the original release. So this time I went and I played the director's cut, and what a hoot! Vintage classic survival horror, can't go wrong. It's always a good time to go back. Not much more to really say about it. I'm sure you'll have your excitements to really say about all the different Resident Evils. You'll have more survival horror this week, surprisingly. Um,
I
the
know, right?
uh, the
Weird.
last thing I put a lot of time into was the beta for Invincible Versus.
Okay, that's the fighting
It,
game, right?
Yes, we've only talked about it like twice, and I normally put it in the perspective of like, oh, all the fighting game guys are talking about how back we are because look at all the games coming out when it's just like a small handful of games that they're just going to pick up once and put down. And I've got to say, because I think the last time I mentioned any of these fighting games was when all of these games were like coming out. I think it's been about a couple months, I would say, maybe even a year at this point. I can't remember
Okay.
exactly when it was, but I described it's like, oh, look at all these fighting games that are coming out. And now I think with Invincible Versus, when it launches, that'll be like the last one from that, because 2XKO came out, Hunter x Hunter Net Impact came out. There was one other one that
Dude,
I'm
the names of
forgetting.
these fighting games are so fucking out there.
It's just because like the 2XKO one is weird to me because like Project L was its running title for a while just because they didn't know what they were gonna fucking call it. Hunter x Hunter
Hmm.
Net Impact is just that way because it's the brand and then the fighting game name underneath it, so it's just gonna be lengthy. But Invincible Versus, that's one that appeals to you because it's nice, neat, and to the point. Invincible Versus, and
I always thought it was really weird when they announced that game because it was like so far after the show originally came out. It just
yeah,
seemed
I
like it
mean,
missed the mark.
I think see there's bits and pieces with that I can appreciate because you also need to factor in the fact that the show is still going on, it's still dragging its feet.
Yeah.
Um and I got to say this game surprised me multiple ways.
Oh,
Because here's the thing. The first thing is now that we are at this last game of that batch of games where everyone's like, "We're so back, man! We're so back fighting games. We're so back," and everybody was jazzed up about it. It is the last one standing. 2XKO is in a very precarious position right now. Hunter x Hunter is basically dead in the eyes of the fighting game community. I think it's a very fun game, but it's pretty much dead. And it feels like the budget is kind of running out. I saw the trailer for the latest DLC character, and there's a lot of, like, her face doesn't really emote like the rest of the characters does. She has a lot of animations where she's at a standstill. Net Impact always struck me as, like, a very budget title, but, like, it feels like I'm watching the budget run out in real time, and we still have one character to go after her. You know, she might have come out. I don't even remember. But anyway, so at the tail end of this, I've just got to say a few things leading into this. This game has been steadily making improvements. Because, like, when it launched, it looked like shit. It was doing the whole jerky, we're going to skip frames animation because that's the style that everyone's been doing. You know, the shading wasn't great. The lighting was very iffy. It was very much a, you know, we're going to rely on, you know, quick gameplay and gore to get people to get butts in the seats, right?
Yep.
And I just got to say, I sat down and I played it, and Dan, it's a little mash happy, but it feels good to play. I was fucking stunned about this. It's like, if 2XKO is like a misguided experiment in a lot of ways, where it's like it's trying to do like active tag fighting, and it's fun to play in its own right. It's just it's too boring to like get an audience. You know, I know a few people that play it and they enjoy it, and then we look at Net Impact, which I've described to you as like kind of a budget Marvel vs. Capcom 3, because it's by the same guys that did that in the same style. This is, like, it feels like Killer Instinct and Mortal Kombat guys decided to get together and say, we want to do a tag fighter like that versus Capcom game. And, like, it's got... I guess I should just lead with, when I was talking to Harrison about this, you know, the only other guy I know that gets into all these fighting games at the same level I do. I know a few people that play fighting games, obviously, but, you know, as far as, like, who's going to play this tag fighter with me? I said to him, I'm just like, Harrison, this is weird for me to say, Invincible as a property does not deserve this game. So it's got all these things I wasn't expecting out of what appeared to be a budget mobile game fighter. It's got snappy animations, it's got satisfying to land hit strings, it's got a wealth of different mechanics thrown in there, like almost to the point where it feels like they added too much. It's got a lot of these are going to go over your head. You can stop me if you want more details. There's short hopping, there's dash cancels, there's auto confirms, there's in animation, there's as the character's health goes down, not only do they take damage, which shockingly few games do battle damage, but they also, their animations change a little bit, which is the only other game doing that is Street Fighter, and they have to cut out the battle damage. It's only in offline modes. It's got good sound design. It's got stages that are incredibly sparse, but are so like well made and put together that you don't notice how sparse they are. Like the environments are like there's a ton of games out there that are like big budget titles that like just have nothing going on in the background. Guilty Gear Strive is a big one where a lot of the stages really fucking suck. This game, with like what I can only imagine is a fraction of the budget, manages to make me forget that there's nothing going on in the background because of how nice they look and how reactive the stage is to some of the combat going on. And on the topic of graphics, I mentioned that like at first when it was revealed, it was very bland, it was very meh looking. They've come such a long way. Like it looks better. It's blowing my mind because I don't want to like go nuts about this budget game that everyone's going to forget, including me. But it's just like when it comes to style in video games, you have two ways you can really go about doing it. You can try stylized or you can try hyper realism, almost like sports games do, right? And Mortal Kombat, Injustice, to a lesser degree, Tekken and Street Fighter currently are going that route, even though they have a little bit more stylized stuff going on. Like those are all the realistic ones. Then you have games like Guilty Gear, Under Night, Avatar Legends, where they do hyper stylized, almost like they're trying to be anime. Specifically, in some cases, they're trying to be anime, and Guilty Gear is like 3D done in 2D. But it's like this game is like right in the middle. Maybe it's because it has to try and match comics. It just looks, I dare say, appealing. Like it doesn't look like shit. And it's funny because I said it's like if Multiverses actually looked good. That's how I described it to somebody, and I found out later that the art director for Multiverses actually worked on this. So I don't know what the fuck happened in Multiverses that he couldn't pull it off. And then At the same time, it's like they actually got the voice actors from the show. Like J.K. Simmons is in this mobile tier game voicing the character. You know, I'm just like, I thought only Warner Brothers had the money to pay this guy. You know, it's just, I don't know. And you know, I'm almost gushing about this game because of how it defied my expectations.
It sounds like you are.
Like, it's not phenomenal. I still like Net Impact better as an example, and this game is going to struggle quite a bit. It has a lot of issues, which I'll get to in a second. But like, I don't know. It's just, maybe it's, I'm cheering for them. You know, they are the most receptive to feedback and how the game looks. You know, the guy at the top is like, just like, oh, everyone should play all fighting games all the time. They're fun. I'm just like, I can get behind that. Yeah, go for it. And it's done by people who worked on other Western fighting games, which we need more of, because the Japs basically grabbed the ball and they've been running with it since Mortal Kombat decided to kill itself. You know. But yeah, it's not without its issues, unfortunately. In another weird turn of events where I expected 2XKO to just swallow up all like the grab and go players, all the people that just like the, you know, I just want to play a game. Apparently, this game is getting a lot of Mortal Kombat's fan base right now, which I guess shouldn't be surprising, because there's a lot of incentive there with the blood and the gore. They like to do the edgy shit like that. But that comes with its baggage, because everybody is a nasty asshole. Like, the conversations I see about this online is ridiculous, but like, everybody's rage quitting. I've gotten more rage quits in this beta period. I've only played about 50 matches or so. I've gotten more rage quits in this beta period than I have the entirety of my time playing Street Fighter 6. That's how bad it is. It's wild. These guys are quitting left and right. There are 10 matches to get like placed in a rank. I got 6 rage quits just in that trying to place alone. It was ridiculous, but that's not really their fault. That's who they attract. But in a stunning twist of fate, this game is going to probably get that Mortal Kombat audience to buy. You know, the same way that the Mortal Kombat audience would just pick Injustice off the shelf, whether they play it or not. You know, who's to say? They're going to get the Injustice guys. And I do say, like, although I said a lot of good things about the gameplay itself, there are a lot of issues with the gameplay. Namely, there are things in fighting games called breakers, where like you spend some kind of resource to get yourself out of a combo. It's not super common anymore, but it's in some of the NRS games, the NetherRealm Studio games. Guilty Gear has had Burst forever. It's basically you spend some kind of resource to get the fuck out of a combo, right? And like they have like a whole counter system, like, oh, you know, give you a lot of lead up. You can see the breaker coming, and you're supposed to be able to convert it. It is not intuitive in the slightest. They need to rework that entire thing or make it a little bit more obvious, because basically how the combo system is built in that game, they actually, and this surprised me, they encourage you to like actually feel things out, because this game unfortunately has auto combos where you mash light and you get a combo out of it. But if you use that, your combo, like your damage scaling is harsher. You can only do so many hits in a combo. So it's nice that they encourage you to actually press other buttons and do other specials. But with that active tag system where you're calling in assists or doing breakers and stuff like that, it almost feels like it resets it in a way it's not supposed to. So like you can almost get bodied an infinite amount of times if you don't understand the assist system. And like I said, it's not very intuitive as far as how that system works, which goes in hand with the fact that they have simple controls compared to classic controls, and they want you to use the simple controls to the point where I didn't even know there were classic controls. I had to have somebody tell me about this later. Like I said, this is all to say, because I'm not going to sit here and ramble on the entire time. It is way better than it has any right to be. It has a lot of gameplay flaws that are going to lead to it dying just like the rest of them, but I do think they are going to net better sales than something like a Net Impact. It's going to be more profitable, even if it won't necessarily have as much longevity as a 2XKO. It surprised me in a lot of ways, and I will restate that regardless of where it lands, regardless of whether I actually get anyone together to play it, regardless of whether it succeeds, it is better than the property deserves, because holy shit, that's just another one of the things out there that just, the comic's not that great, the show's not that great, but the game is kind of okay. How about that?
There's a lot of praise for kind of okay.
Yeah, like I said, it is like the fact that, like, if I picked the best way I can describe this, and the best way I thought about this, is back in the 90s, right? I know obviously we were very young back then, but I'm just describing that time frame. Back in the 90s when fighting games were just a thing people bought and played, they didn't bitch about like, oh, it's too hard, it's too this, it's too that. People just they went to arcades, they picked up the version that was available on the home console, and there was a shit ton of them because people just didn't nobody like pushed out. They just said if the game's fun, they play it, right?
Right.
This feels like the kind of quality game that you would see on the shelf and quietly ignore because it's not for you. But it would still be good if you went and you picked it up, you know? It's just it's kind of comforting to see a game like this that is good but also has flaws that doesn't destroy the entire fucking thing just out there in the wild. You know, I want to see more games like Invincible Versus because that means more people are trying different things. And even though I know the chances of it holding a good player base month over month is very slim, I am glad it exists for whatever it's worth, and I hope they fix some of those issues because if they don't fix like the mashing issue, if they don't fix how the assists and the breakers work and how you're supposed to react to them, I do think they are going to very quickly lose the casuals that buy it day one, and they are going to lose the fickle top players because there's a lot of players at the top. I'm listening to what they're saying. The guys, there are people that were hyping it up months ago or saying like, good, we're back. They're dismissing it already because some of they don't like how some of the mechanics function. They don't like the auto combo system, even though it's pretty much identical to the auto combo system in Dragon Ball FighterZ. And they're the only good feedback, the only good input I hear is coming from players who are notorious for buying games, playing them while they're new in order to get like wins on the board and up their cred or whatever, and then dropping it when they start losing or dropping it when it's completely dead. So not a good look as far as prospects go in terms of maintaining a player base and having a healthy one going forward. But that if it exists, if it's good, I'll play it. Who gives a shit?
Yeah.
That's my long-winded rant on a game that surprised me,
Yeah, damn. So I've lost such fucking train of thought. All right, so that's what you've been playing. What have I been playing? Let's see. Let's go to Steam. All right, so we already discussed me playing through and beating Resident Evil Village, right?
Did we? I thought you beat it this week. I don't think you talked about it yet. No.
Really? Okay, I thought I did.
So I used this opportunity to check. You did, in fact, talk about it last time. I'm just getting all my fucking things blurred because of the time. You've been flying through these games, which I'm very proud
all right.
of.
So then,
yes.
So
fuck Village.
I'll leave Village.
Already.
Yeah, I'll fuck Village. I'll leave that game alone. I played a little bit more Division, but nothing too crazy. We played a little bit of Borderlands, Jesus, Modern Warfare, and the Division. Wow, holy shit. The finals. I meant to say the finals.
Together. Good lord, man.
I put a decent amount of time into Space Marine 2 this past week. I mean, let me rephrase that. Not a decent amount of time, more than I have been. I played for like 3 hours in total, give or take.
Mm-hmm.
Not for any like one reason or other in particular. I just kind of want to like level up the rest of my classes. But I've been playing that. Actually, Saber is supposed to be overhauling the siege mode in some way, which is like their wave-based defense horde mode type of thing. So I'm looking forward to that. They said that like at least one new weapon, a new operations mode or something. No, maybe not a new operations mode, a new PvP map, which I barely touch. And then a whole bunch of changes and updates to the siege mode. So I'm very excited for that. We should definitely jump in once that comes out.
Sure.
So the other thing that I've been playing, I finally started Resident Evil Requiem, and I played it pretty much all day today, with the exception of like the last 2 hours I was playing Space Marine. But I got through a giant chunk of Requiem, and I definitely have some thoughts. I haven't finished it yet. Actually, this is a good opportunity to ask you. If anybody is listening who cares about the Resident Evil Requiem story, I advise you turn this off or at least skip to a certain timestamp. I'm sure Anthony could put it on screen. But you have been warned. So my question for you is, I am about an hour into Leon going back to Raccoon City.
Mm-hmm.
How much more of the game is there? Because I killed that creature with Grace, and then they played like this whole cutscene, and like again, spoiler alert, if you're interested in the story, this fucking Wesker looking guy came out, and apparently it's not Wesker because he had a different, like Gideon called him a different name. I'm very confused right now because I'm not up in my lore for Resident Evil nearly as much as you. I do genuinely enjoy the games with the exception of Biohazard, but I do I do like the games.
That exception.
Yeah, yeah, I am going to keep making that exception.
Very frightening.
Too intense.
I need everybody to understand this as we talk. Man, I'm enjoying Requiem. Biohazard scared the shit out of me, though. I don't like it.
There have been like a handful of times where I was scared shitless in Requiem.
Oh, I can
actually,
imagine.
you were on the mic. Yeah, you were on the mic, and I caught a jump scare. And like I basically like gave the grown ass man equivalent of a whelp. I just fucking, oh fuck, like just like top of my lungs, just not expecting it. My heart rate spiked. It was a good time. But so yeah, how far into the game am I? If I'm about an hour into, I just put in like the second battery to come out of the underground parking garage as Leon, and I watched that found footage cutscene of that team getting wiped out by what the hell was his name? Was it like Zona or something like that?
The not Wesker?
Yeah. The
Xeno.
Gideon uses his name once. Xenos, right? Okay. Am I supposed to know that guy from anywhere?
No.
Because I just played through all of in the last 2 months. I've played through all of 4, all of 5, like the first mission for Leon for 6, all of Village, and now I'm this far into Requiem. So like, if I'm missing something, I should be ashamed of myself.
You have made the connection that you're supposed to, where you go, who is this Wesker-looking guy? That is...
Okay, so it's definitely like a clone or a biologically engineered version of Wesker. Like, there's no way that Capcom...
Just the same actor. Who knows? Who's to say?
Is it the same actor?
Yeah, it's the same... Well, from the remake.
Okay.
So, same guy that played him in
my
Remake
point
4.
being, like, there's no way that Capcom did not make that design choice intentional, right? Like, Wesker has been the antagonist of Resident Evil since, what, the beginning? I mean, the earliest I know him from is probably 4. And, like, how much earlier does he go?
So, he is the first antagonist. I say that hesitatingly because it is one of those things that is just, by necessity, is spoiled over time. It is supposed to be a twist that Wesker is the bad guy in 1. And then it's ambiguous what happens afterwards, and then he resurfaces. It is revealed he is alive in Code Veronica in 4, and then you know the rest of the story. Well, except for some of the stuff from the Chronicles games.
So the Xenos guy showed himself, and like, obviously as somebody who has like a passing interest in Resident Evil, and who has also played through a pretty big bulk of the mainline games, I see this guy in his slick back hair, sunglasses, sharp suit, and his like glowing eyes. I'm like, oh shit, like, is this Wesker? Only to find out, no, it is not. Like, I'm just very confused at this point of the game.
Who's to say who that guy is?
Do you actually not know, or you just you're
Who's
being
to say?
coy?
Who's to say?
God damn it, Anthony.
I
think you're just being
You're
coy.
Getting there.
Yeah, no. I obviously I plan on finishing it. I didn't know if like if I was supposed to know this character previously. Now that you mention
you
all
have
the
the
things
proper
you just said.
baseline of reaction to him.
Yeah. Okay. So I am I'm almost 10 hours into Requiem, like grand total. I definitely have thoughts, and like I'm not going to give it like a honest to goodness ranking because I haven't finished the game yet, but I will talk about how I feel about the game so far.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, it's kind of hard to, like, you know what I said when I had my whole conversation about it. It's hard to judge certain things without completing it and being able to go,
right,
this happened then, so I get it.
Yeah. But so where do I begin? The more I played as Grace, the more I ended up really liking her as a character for a couple different reasons. Number one, and probably chief among them, is she has the normal fucking reaction to all the shit that is going on around her. And like, I can't even tell you how much I appreciate that in comparison to Ethan Winters, who was just like so nonchalant about almost everything until you get to the end of Village. He ended up growing on me like in the very end because of how much he wanted to find his daughter and like what he was willing to do to get her back. And I respect that in any person, and I guess in any fictional character. You know, being a parent myself, like it kind of hits close to home. And then with Grace, she's a very interesting character because obviously like her place in the Resident Evil universe is clearly larger than I know about right now, and I'm sure that will get revealed to me eventually.
It's obviously it's part of it, but even if you were just at the point in the story that you are now, regardless of what happens next or later, it is a neat tie-in that she is the daughter of an Outbreak character for multiple reasons. It's like,
Right.
this
So
character was literally in Resident Evil in Raccoon City during the Outbreak, but also one of the main characters of the Resident Evil Outbreak games.
okay, 'cause I was curious as to who her mother actually was as well. Like, again, I haven't played any game prior to 4 in its entirety, um, but they made a big deal out of Alyssa being Grace's mother in the
Mm-hmm.
opening cutscene of the game, and then you play through that whole like flashback segment. Um, so that I was a little fuzzy on, but I was kind of letting the game take me for a ride.
Yeah.
All in all, so far, I really enjoy it. The infected feel way more threatening when you're playing as Grace, um, in comparison to uh, Village and Biohazard. So I think that was a really good design choice.
Mhm.
I don't want to say too much because I haven't fully completed the game yet, but the one of the things that I will say so far about Requiem, the attention to detail is unbelievable. Um, like just the little things, like obviously when you're playing as Grace, you're in first person. When you're playing as Leon, you're in third. You could change it, but that's how Capcom intended you to play through the game. Like, for example, when you're playing as Grace and it's in first person, you have the flashlight out. You have to reload. Like Grace will put the flashlight like kind of in the crux of her elbow, like in the bend of her arm, and
Mhm.
then do the reload, and then take the flashlight back out again. And then when you take the flashlight out or put it away, you can see her hand, manipulating the actual flashlight to get it in position. The audio cues are really, really good. And then when you're playing as Leon, all of the little intricacies about the animations of like him transitioning from pistol to rifle, or like depending on where you are in the environment, your arm will be at a different length if you're in close quarters versus medium to long range.
Mhm.
The shotgun reload animation, not the pump action, like the semi-auto one that you could buy later on.
Yeah.
Um, the way that like I lost it when I did the reload at first with this gun in particular, because he flips it like 90 degrees to the right, throws it over his shoulder, and loads 3 rounds in at a time. And that is how competition shooters actually load their shotguns. I
Mhm.
don't think they do 3 rounds; they do 2. But I guess whatever for it being a video game. But like you see everything, the animations are super fucking smooth. They're very very satisfying for like and everything for the combat in Requiem feels so fucking crunchy. It's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
It feels so good. I would play through an entire action genre game, like just with the combat system that they've created for Leon in this game.
Mhm.
And now I'm at a point where like I'm playing as Leon exclusively, at least right now. The entire run of Grace being in the care center, like you only got to play as Leon for like maybe 5 to 10 minutes here or there. It really wasn't that long. I thought that's all the game was going to be. I was like getting kind of disappointed by it.
Mhm.
And then they bring you to Raccoon City, and you have this much longer gameplay sequence as Leon, and I love it. I think it's fucking awesome. Now,
Mhm.
that is, I don't want to say that much more about Requiem because again I haven't finished it, and I will get to that next week. The last thing that I will say for Requiem, and this has to do with mercenaries. Not only the fact that like obviously I want them to add mercenaries into this game sometime in May because I teased a quote unquote mini game, but the system that they already put in place in the campaign of how you can buy, upgrade, and sell shit for your weapons and your hatchet, like the system is there. Like the scaffolding is in place already. There's no way that they would include that shit in the game if
You
the
never
mercenaries
know.
mode wasn't on its
You
way.
never know.
I just want it to happen so badly, Anthony, because
I
you
know.
playing as Leon is so much fun, and I even if it's just single player, I don't think they're going to do co-op for this. I really don't. But even if it is just single player mercenaries mode, I will play the fuck out of that. It was, I liked playing as Leon so much that I was Googling like what other games play similar to the mercenaries mode overall. Like if there's like an arcadey type of uh, experience that like that's the only thing that they focus on is
Hmm.
that kind of time attack sort of mode. I really wasn't that successful because I could just go back and play Resident Evil 4 remake. Um, but so far, I am really enjoying it. I think if I had to give it a no, I said I wasn't going to do that. I'll do that next week.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
but yeah, so that is what I've been playing this week. I know that I talked a lot about the Requiem story beats. Hopefully Anthony will put a timestamp on the screen or something, or at least some kind of a auditory notification if anyone is listening to skip to a certain part because I don't want to ruin it for everybody. This game is brand new. Um, yeah, so far I'm liking it a lot. I'll have like a ranking and like a number score for you next week and where I would rank Requiem amongst the other Resident Evil games. Because
All right.
I have thought about this already. I just haven't beaten it yet, so I can't do that in good faith. Um, so that is what I've been playing this week,
All
Anthony.
right. All right.
Yeah.
Lot
I'm
of
gonna hand the
not,
mic back over. Yeah.
no, I was gonna say not too much, but pretty big, all things considered.
Yeah, I made way more progress today in Requiem than I was planning
Oh
on.
yeah.
It just kind of like took me for the ride, and once I got my momentum with Grace, because that's the harder like character to play as for me, obviously.
Hmm.
Once I got my momentum as Grace, like I just kind of took off. It was like the puzzle solving was good, but fuck that fucking stalker mechanic, dude. I can't stand it. Ugh, gives me goddamn nightmares.
Stalker mechanics are
Um,
never particularly fun, regardless of how frightened or not you are.
so anyway, that's what I've been playing. I'm gonna turn the mic back over to you because you have way more to talk about this
All
week
right.
than I do.
Yeah.
I have almost nothing. So anyway, take it away.
All right. So I guess just I'll take them in order of what I was looking at before. But so this kind of ties into where I was going to lead off from when I was talking about Invincible verses. But recently, oh, and I say recently, this made me laugh in ways that it'll tie together neatly near the end. Recently, quote unquote, I saw an interview from the guy who is credited with created Guilty Gear and the current COO, I think it is his position in the company. He's like the second highest guy in the company.
Chief
His name is,
Operating Officer.
yeah, exactly, or some other equivalent in a different field. Like it might be something more creative, but it's still as high as the company can go aside from CEO and founder. Um, this is a guy by the name of Daisuke Ishiwatari. I've talked about him a handful of times for different degrees, and he was doing an interview really about the company as a whole, but it came about because of the recent at the time it was coming out the new game they were doing called Damon and Baby. I think we've talked about it like twice, where I mentioned it's like it's them trying to do something different, but it's like just a grindy twin stick shooter action game, right? Maybe if you remember this or not, anyway. But yeah,
Not
so
really. No.
so yeah, during this interview, his whole thing during this interview was he was talking about the dangers of doing the same thing over and over and over again, where he what the hell did he say exactly? You know what, I'm gonna pull this up right here. Hold on, let's see. In current game development, localized staff involvement has become a common thing. It's very dangerous to spend decades doing highly specialized work, only realize later that you are no longer capable of doing anything else. You'll find yourself at a loss when the project you're working on hits a rough patch, and even if you quit your job, your chances of finding another one will be slim. Now, here's the thing. I actually agree with that quite a bit. I do think in this industry, in this medium, really, creators either need to lock in and understand they're going to be doing one thing and one thing only because that's what they like doing, that's what they're interested in, that's their specialty, or they need to diversify in what they actually put out, right? Here's the problem. Arc System Works under various names, has been around for 38 years. And they have tried a multitude of different things over those 38 years. They mainly did contract work for the longest time, and in a lot of ways, they're still only really doing contract work. And then, you know, they did really nothing of note for the first decade that they existed, and then they did a niche but cult classic fighting game based off of Sailor Moon that is like, it's like a meme game people play now. It's like very poorly balanced, but it's like fun to play or whatnot. And then a couple more years pass, they do the first Guilty Gear, and that saves the company and that puts them on the trajectory they're in now. And all I've got to say, man, is like he's talking about this now because he's kind of looking big picture. You know, the company has been, you know, it's floundered quite a bit. It's saved by the fact that it's very small, and you can tell that him and other executives at the company are trying desperately to get the company out from the stigma of just making fighting games. They mention it fucking constantly in every single interview. In that Arc System Direct that they did like last year, I think I talked about it, where we talk about how not everybody needs a direct, right? Not everybody needs a fucking 45-minute presentation on everything. He showed up at the end of the direct to basically say that, I'm paraphrasing and adding a little negative spin here, but he basically comes out to say like, I don't like doing fighting games, or he's like, please stop thinking about us just for the fighting games, basically. And that's when that's the fucking Damon and Baby thing. And I just gotta say, man, I think it's too late. I mean, most of the type of employee at the company has either been, it's like I would say it's like 20% people who've been with the company for a long, long time, and then the rest of it is people who have only been with the company for like 10 years or something. Everybody on board only really knows how to do these things well. Everything else they try does not fucking sell, or does not catch on, or does not do anything. Arguably, your flagship franchises, Guilty Gear and BlazBlue, didn't really sell all that well either. It just did really well in the niche. The only reason Strive sold very well is because COVID. You know, they were not the first ones to do it, but they pushed rollback netcode, which is good for fighting games. They were one of the many great COVID games that I mentioned. You know, we talk about Warzone, Animal Crossing is one of them also. Guilty Gear Strive benefited the most because they went from selling like 30,000 to 50,000 copies at launch to maybe like 100,000 at most, to like selling 500,000, you know, and that swell kind of like kept that series afloat up to the 5-year mark we are at now, where they're doing more DLC and retrofitting the game. Now, why I said this was all humorous is because this interview where he's talking about specialization and trying to, you know, like how the importance of not doing the same thing over and over again, it comes after decades of them doing the same thing over and over again. It's buried under headlines where it's just like, the guy who did Guilty Gear talks about this, that, and the other. The screenshots, the headliners, it's all Guilty Gear stuff. The game that he's talking about, Damon and Baby, I forgot this fucking thing came out. I think it sold like 3,000 copies or something really low. Something ridiculous, like terrible. Abysmal. And here's the thing. It's possible like the console sales will probably save it. Like I think the peak on Steam is somewhere around 100, 140, something like that. Okay. Like, I look at it this way. I'm sure there's some console sales I'm not putting out there, but this game is niche. It's very niche. And I would say, like, oh, if it was just an indie game doing anything, you cross the finish line. I'm sure indie sales would be unhappy with that. But I hear two conflicting reports, because Arxis likes to do this clever little game they do where they're just like, you know, if the next thing we do doesn't sell ridiculously well, it will literally kill us and the company. And they say that all the fucking time, and yet they still have very meager offerings at the end of it, you know? It's like, I don't know. They spent the entire time saying, Damon and Baby is how we're going to prove we can do other things, and also do it without blowing up the budget. But also, if it doesn't sell well, we'll be in dire jeopardy. So I don't know how to take them seriously at their word anymore. But I guess this is all I'm saying is, like when it comes to, you know, just... It's a fine sentiment, what he put out there. I do think that if you have a medium-sized or higher company, like AA to AAA, you should try to do more. You should, if you have those creatives. You can't just have the creatives in there doing the same thing over and over again, right? But it's like, this is like the last company I would turn to for it, because they fucking fail at everything except their fighting games. That's what they're known for. It's what legacy this guy Ishiwatari, he will have, even though there's a lot to say about Strive and the things that happened in it that'll tarnish that legacy a little bit, but it's like he can't break out of that. Damon and Baby was supposed to like be a brand new thing, and it was also supposed to show like they're starting this whole thing like an MCU of their own. They're doing the Arc universe. Like there's a lot of lore in there where if you know Guilty Gear and you know Blaze Blue, you can see little bits and pieces and characters in there, and nobody fucking bit. Not even all the overseas modern sensibility audiences that they've tried to cater to over the last 5 years. Nobody fucking bought this thing. Nobody. And I guess this is like, I'm kind of caught in between like praising the strategy, because I really do think it's an important strategy, and also just like kicking Arxis while they're down, I guess. Because like, I don't know, man. I hate the fact that this company has gone from like a niche little thing that does something very well to trying to appeal to the whatever audience they can get overseas through modern compliance and sensibilities and stuff like that. And they have a very weird publishing focus, which I don't think is going pretty well. It's not going particularly well either. Like they're basically holding some franchises hostage from like the old Tecmo days and stuff like that, like River City. They're just kind of holding that hostage. The creator of that franchise, the Kunio-kun series, he died last week, and like his baby is like trapped in the Arxis mines, getting its own shellacking every so often. I don't know where I'm going with this, but
I don't know. You got nothing to add.
I'm rambling here because I do really dislike what Arxis has become. But yeah, the sentiment makes sense. People need to be doing more if that's their inclination. I think a lot of people, we've talked about plenty, there's a lot of companies that are held back, or you have talent that's held back by studio practices, when everybody needs to be trying to do more. If they're able, if they entered to be a creative, we need to let these projects breathe, and people need to try and do new things, I guess.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, that's really not how the industry works right now.
Yeah,
or at least not if you're a part of a certain publishing deal. You have to get real lucky.
Yeah.
So, yeah, every time you talk about Arxis, it's like almost never in a positive light.
And I'm not gonna start myself back up, but I will say
please don't.
I've never seen such a flip where it's like they're profitable in a meaningful way for the first time ever, but it cost them in such a way that, I know you always like to say like, well, money talk, bullshit walks, and all that kind of stuff, but it's just like I always think about the future costs. Like I'm looking at things like tone and style and brand integrity and legacy and stuff like that, and it was kind of sad to watch. They had the perfect layup.
Your memory is a lot longer than almost everybody else's.
I will always say, like, that time frame, that COVID window, you could release fucking anything. You could they chose at that moment when you could release fucking anything at all, just a few key metrics, but they also chose that time to sell out, essentially. Like many metal and rock bands do, the metal and rock franchise that is Guilty Gear had its own selling out moment, and it's kind of sad to me, which is why I'm always dour on Arxis. So, but yeah, it is what it is.
Well, I'll get my small thing out of the way. I mean, actually, I hesitate to bring up the marathon numbers because there was a new article published, but what's the point anymore? Well, the first thing that I was going to bring up was this Hazelight, the developers behind Split Fiction, A Way Out, It Takes Two, like all those co-op games. Between all three of their games, they have 50 million units in sales, which I think is pretty good, especially for a very niche genre. And they are working on a fourth project, so I am all for that. I thought that Split Fiction was very fun. We definitely have to go back and play A Way Out and It Takes Two, sooner or later. But I don't know if those other two games are cross-play the way that Split Fiction was. So we'll have to check that out. But good sales numbers on, for that studio for all three of those games. And hopefully their fourth project is just as interesting. Where, given their track record so far, I have faith. I think it'll be good.
Yeah,
so
it's I think when we talked about Split Fiction, but if I talk about them in general, it is nice to have that kind of like every now and again they try something different, even though like the framework is the same. There's like if I go to play A Way Out and Split Fiction, like there's an underlying DNA there, but they don't play. It's not like a carbon copy kind of thing, and that's always nice. But with that comes the risk that you don't necessarily stick the landing. So we'll see what happens.
And we started A Way Out like years ago. We just never stuck with it.
Yeah,
Um, we should
maybe one
definitely
day.
do that because
Yeah.
that's more appealing to me than It Takes Two. Even though, like by all metrics, It Takes Two is apparently like extremely good mechanically speaking. I
Mhm.
don't even remember anything from A Way Out, but we should. Yeah, I remember that it takes place inside of a prison and it follows you and you're like cellmate or something. You guys have to escape. That's
Yes.
literally all I remember. Um, so yeah, so Hazelight has some good sales figures and they are working on a fourth project.
All right.
Also, speaking of numbers, we don't have anything concrete for the marathon player numbers, but um, this guy Paul Tassi, who writes for Forbes, who has been reporting on Destiny for a long time, and by extension Marathon as well. He has a source inside of Bungie that is essentially like confirming that numbers that were released by a an analyst firm are like pretty close to being accurate. So that's like the only thing that we really have to go off of. But
Mhm.
according to this Bungie insider, again, take it with a pinch of salt because there's no credentials here really whatsoever. Um, the numbers that he's reporting on are pretty close to accurate. And I don't really have like a whole itemized list, but I'll go down the list of what I do have here. So right now the game is sitting at 88% positive on Steam. So I mean, this is kind of echoing what I've been saying over the past few weeks, where the people who are playing the game like consistently are actually enjoying it,
Mhm.
and the people that like hardcore extraction shooters, this seems to be a good offering in that space, which is great. That I don't have a problem with that whatsoever. I
Mhm.
still completely disagree with the fact that this is what Bungie should have made after Destiny, in the midst of that studio just completely fucking crumbling or imploding, um, and but that's neither here nor there.
Mhm.
Like that decision, that creatively, that decision was just like just weird, man. It's just weird. Uh, so moving on, just from like the overall user score. So the analyst firm is the name is Alinea, Alinea. Uh, yeah, Alinea. So they estimated that about 1.2 million copies sold across all platforms, um, and that was the sales figure that that Paul Tassi said was close to being accurate based on his Bungie Insider.
Mhm.
1.2 million across all platforms is not a good number, in my opinion,
I
especially
mean,
for
considering we're talking AAA
yeah,
and a company like Bungie, where they're at and what they were hoping this game to be, that's
yeah. Right. It goes back to my old argument of the game may be good, but it doesn't erase the fact that Bungie needed like a smashing success to come back from the brink, and that's just not what it was. It's good for what it's offering, but like this is not a casual game,
Mhm.
and there's nothing wrong with it being hardcore, but it's just not what the studio needed at that point in time.
I mean,
Um,
I
s-
mean, I think that it's like it being more hardcore, less casual friendly is obviously a big part of its staying power. But I think other elements like the actual game it's trying to be, the designs, the identity of the game itself, how it looks and how it appeals or doesn't appeal, I think that has more to do with the sales than its overall difficulty. I think difficulty is how you lose a certain amount of people before launch and also a ton of people after launch. So I mean, I don't necessarily, it being hardcore is going to be more difficult of a hurdle for it in the long term than it was necessarily getting people in the door in the first place.
well, the whole thing that was getting people in the door in the first place was the Bungie name and the fact that it was a brand new IP. I mean, I know technically it's not a brand new IP, but it's a fucking brand new IP. Um, it what?
No, I'm just shocked
It
though.
is.
That's all.
Yeah. Uh, it, you know, the Bungie name and the fact that they're making another shooter, in my opinion, I think that's why people decided to jump in and play. I think that once the majority of players uh, figured out what it was and just how unforgiving it is, that's when the drop off really happened. And about 2 weeks ago, it went from 478,000 concurrent players, or like no, I'm sorry, daily active players, to 345, and that data is about 2 weeks old. Um, And again, that's across all platforms. If I look on Steam, uh, right now the numbers are sitting at 23,000. So I agree with your point where the fact that it's more hardcore helps in its staying power, but I don't know. So many people, myself included, think that uh, what the hell am I trying to say? Destiny died so that this could do okay, and like that. God, what a shame.
Yeah.
Uh, so I just wanted to go over that real quick because I really don't have anything else to talk about this week, and try as I might, I am racking my brain, and I don't know of anything that really jumps out at me that happened this past week that I would want to talk about. Um, yeah, I don't know. I don't think. I know you have a couple other things, but
All right.
I feel like there was other shit. I just either
Well, let's see.
neglected to link it.
Let's see if it comes to you. I'll lead into the next thing then.
Yeah.
So there's some rumors going around Xbox and developments ongoing and all that kind of stuff now that the leadership is getting the new leadership layout is getting settled in and whatnot. So obviously take all this with a grain of salt, but there's two prominent rumors going around. One is more like just whatever the fuck that means, and the other one is more something that's worth discussing. And I actually want your opinion on this. The first one is that apparently the profit margins and expectations for Xbox have been lowered to give it more breathing room so that it can focus on things
Artificially?
like within the company.
Right, artificially. Like they brought down their expectations to, what do you mean give it more breathing room?
Like, so the higher ups at Microsoft aren't looking at it and going, we need this much, this much, this much, this much, this much, this much over and over again. The amount of money that is expected to come from the Xbox brand has allegedly been lowered to a certain degree. So, like, sales goals and shit like that, profit margins, whatnot. Make more sense?
Yeah.
Okay. And that's, it's whatever. I mean, all of that would be good for any kind of brand, less bullshit from up top. Just worry about putting out whatever product you have, whatever you need to. The second of the rumors is a little bit more interesting, and that is that they are kicking around the pros and cons of removing day one Call of Duty from Game Pass. And
Wait, hold on. Repeat that one more time.
They are allegedly internally kicking around the idea, the pros and cons of removing day one Call of Duty releases from Game Pass Ultimate.
This is what you want, in my opinion, on?
Yeah.
So it's like they went out of their way to jump through all the hoops of getting their pistol permit for concealed carry, and then once they got it, they just kept on shooting themselves in the fucking foot over and over and over again.
Well,
like, why did you... I understand the fact that you have to recoup all the money that you spent on Activision, but like, every decision they make pulls them further and further away from any reason of going out and buying an Xbox, especially now that it's so expensive. I mean, yeah, you could say the same thing about PlayStation, but every decision they make from like a marketing and brand culture philosophy standpoint, it all like frees up the consumer or the customer from having to choose Xbox over PlayStation for, let's just take COD for example, for, any reason to buy it to play COD as opposed to the PlayStation. Like, I don't understand what the end game is here. Like, I know that they have their whole ecosystem that they're trying to bolster and, make better and, insert adjective here. But there's no reason to buy an Xbox, and there's even less of a reason now. Like, I don't understand.
Well, this would purely be from Game Pass, and I think like I said, if they're considering pros and cons, my thought process would be, and I guess the question would be to you in this kind of thought process is, if removing day one Call of Duty launches from Game Pass Ultimate resulted in a wider move to get Game Pass back closer to the center as far as pricing, I'd say that's a good move, personally. Because
fine, fair. I didn't think of it that way.
Yeah, because if we look at it that way and say like, okay, Game Pass prices comes down, and then if I were to approach it from, your position, where you're just like, there's less of a reason to buy an Xbox. This is a conversation we've had back and forth for quite a while. Discussions just as they've made different moves. My whole thing is something I mentioned very, very early on when they first purchased Call of Duty, and when whether or not Call of Duty was coming to Game Pass was still a conversation and not just a thing that happens now. My whole position is there are tons of bonuses and things that they can do within the Call of Duty ecosystem, regardless of how healthy it is, but just within that ecosystem to make it a more appealing package on the Xbox. The thing I said way back when we were talking about it, I said something along the lines of like, oh, those bundles they run, like Doom bundles, Fallout bundles, early DLC and beta periods, stuff that the PlayStation was doing after Modern Warfare 2. Like, all of that shit should just be Xbox. Xbox should get benefits weeks in advance. It should get exclusive bundles. It should get all of that, because regardless of what you think about like player bases and what they get and what they expect and what's fair and what's not, purely from a business perspective, there is no reason that the Xbox should not get exclusive benefits on Call of Duty. That's just a thing that should happen. Sony's been doing it, and Sony still does it for just about every property they have, even the ones that have crossplay and stuff like that. They should not pull any punches with exclusives where possible within the ecosystem. So Call of Duty Modern Warfare 4 comes out in 2-3 years or whatever, like as a hypothetical, right? When they start doing those ridiculous bundles again, like, oh, we're going to do a Fallout bundle, Xbox exclusive for like a month, or just Xbox exclusive in general. Oh, we're going to do a Doom bundle, Xbox exclusive. Oh, we're going to run the beta. Like, Xbox gets the first beta period during that first week. Like, do shit like that. If you're concerned about, and obviously you should be concerned about your market share as far as a console is concerned, but removing day one from Game Pass Ultimate, there's ways you can do that while maintaining that appeal to it. Like, oh, maybe you get a discount if you have Ultimate. Oh, maybe Ultimate is now cheaper again, if it goes back down $5-10 because you don't need to worry about that Call of Duty cost anymore. There's a lot of things that are in play here, but I think that removing Call of Duty from Game Pass day one is something they could possibly do, as long as it doesn't affect their back catalog, and as long as Call of Duties do eventually make their way to Game Pass after a set period of time.
Hey, yeah, I mean, I definitely agree with pretty much everything that you said. Like, they have the property, right? They own the rights and everything. There's no reason why they can't give you at least somewhat of a reason to choose an Xbox, right? Like, they have all these properties at their disposal, and yet Fortnite constantly gets crossovers. Destiny, I mean, they had an entire Star Wars themed expansion. COD gets these different bundles from like anything from movies to anime, TV shows. Fucking Warhammer got a purchasable pack, which like I just was shocked by when that happened. And yet all the Xbox, like, imagine they released the Mjolnir armor in COD from Halo. Right, like, how good would that sell? And that's just one example, obviously, but there's no shortage of things to pull from, and they just have no interest, seemingly. I don't know. Hey, the whole Xbox situation is just real screwy.
Yeah.
Well, that kind of
I mean, it's
kind of died.
The Call of Duty conversation links up with the Xbox conversation. It brings us all the way back to the first podcast where you just go to sleep, your eyes roll back into the back of your head when you talk about Call of Duty.
It's amazing how we go through this fucking cycle. The next COD is rumored to be Modern Warfare 4. Is it supposed to be Infinity Ward? Right?
I don't even know anymore, because last I heard it's, as per usual, there's some kind of development turmoil going on. So,
is there? That's weird.
It's up in the
air.
Maybe
take a fucking year off. If they took a year off, I mean, they'll never do that ever. But if they took a year off to, incubate new ideas or just try to polish the game up, or I mean, it mainly comes down to new ideas, right? Like that's really what it is. I mean, COD has had over 20 consecutive releases. It just, I don't know, what else could you do, man? Just stop. Just stop, take a year, recollect, regroup. Oh god, I really don't want to go into a COD talk right now.
It's perfectly fine. It's perfectly fine.
Let's see. So we got the Xbox rumors out of the way now. What is this Amazon Luna business? Learn me.
Yeah. Yeah, so this was a little sketchy for a bit, just because like the page where they made the announcement went down and then it came back up, and then it's apparently a real thing that's happening. Amazon Luna is essentially winding down.
Oh, did we
They
talk about Sora? I think we did.
a while ago, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Never mind. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, that's perfectly fine. But yeah, Amazon Luna is essentially winding down. Do you remember what Amazon Luna is?
I know it's like, is it their game making AI?
No, it's their cloud gaming service. So it's basically
Okay.
their Google, what the fuck was it called? Stadia. It was their Stadia. I can't believe I actually forgot it. Wow, time really just like dust in the wind, man. Anyway,
Wowee.
yeah. Yeah, it's essentially ending support for just buying games outright. Third-party game stores such as EA, Ubisoft, GOG, they're off the platform. You can't make any purchases from them anymore. You have third-party subscriptions. Stuff like Ubisoft Plus is no longer supported. You can't make any purchases. You can't buy into any of these subscriptions anymore. And as of June 10th, you won't even be able to play the third-party stuff anymore. It'll be removed from your account with no mention, of course, of refunds anytime soon. So everybody's quick to stress it's not shutting down yet. But this could be seen as like the first steps of Amazon pulling out of their cloud gaming. Yeah, it's just another
Well,
failed venture.
correct me if I'm wrong, but every game that Amazon put out has shut down. Or am I wrong on
I
that?
want to say yes. You might be mixing it up with Netflix because so many people have been trying to throw shit at the wall hoping it sticks. Um,
Well, Amazon made New World, and that got shuttered, and then
yeah.
they made like a third person MOBA. I don't remember what it was called, but that died also.
hmm
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't have no idea what the name is. But yeah, Netflix and
Mhm.
Amazon trying their hand at gaming is just stick to what you're good at. You know that you don't need to be in everything. Like,
It's funny. Like this is essentially the beginning of the end for all of Luna's features or anything like that. But like the thing to me is that like are there any cloud gaming ventures left outside of xCloud at this point? Sony has something, right? Don't they
um,
have a PlayStation thing for the cloud?
well, they have like the Portal, the PlayStation Portal.
Yes, that's right. And I don't know. I feel like the ones that are left standing with Xbox and Sony, it's really just ones that are kind of like built to go with the system, you know. So it's like
Yeah.
it's a tag along service. It's like I don't know, man. I'm not. I don't want to stump for cloud gaming or anything like that, but I feel like all of this could have been avoided with some actual like I don't know, software or something like
Uh,
that, where it's like they made something worth a damn. I'm pretty sure Netflix, when they tried this, they opened a whole studio and then they released nothing. They made nothing with the studio and closed the studio. And it feels like all these gaming ventures are just misguided, you know?
yeah. Well, it's all greed. They're all cash grabs. It's obvious.
Yeah.
They're so obviously cash grabs.
Yeah.
There's very little originality to any of them. Every game that I've seen has been some form of trend chasing in some capacity. Um, and it like as gamers, we can smell that shit a fucking like 2 miles away. It doesn't work. It just does not
Mhm.
work. Um, and it's just they don't want to learn or listen, so they'll
Yeah.
lose mountains of money, and that'll be that.
Yeah, I guess so. It is what it is. I don't know what the future, I mean, cloud gaming, what does that even make up percentage wise in the market? Like, is it something like I remember Xbox said something. It's like what 3% of their players utilize some form of XCloud or some ridiculously low number. Yeah, 3 or
I
13,
have
lower than
no
10. I
idea.
can't remember. It's such a nothing at this point. It's like cloud gaming as an experiment only even really functions when everybody's doing good and there's actually something to try on the cloud service. Like it's a hard sell in general. But like if you add this on to like okay, you never really figured out how the shit really works. You never really figured out this, that, or the other. The prices are ridiculous. There's nothing to play on these services. They're spotty. It's just I don't know. I don't know what anybody's
Yeah,
planning anymore.
not a good experience any way you slice it.
Yeah.
The actual game options, the input lag, the overall quality of the service, the price, like it's go down the list. They're terrible from front to back.
Yeah, yeah, and it feels like we've made no meaningful progress there. It's almost like, I like to talk a lot of shit about VR. I feel like cloud gaming is in the same boat. It's just been stagnant. You're not getting anything, very gimmicky.
Yeah. Yeah, it just needs to go away. Unless they find some infrastructure to like greatly reduce input lag to the point where it's not noticeable anymore, and not have it completely break the bank, and obviously have some good offerings as far as what games you can actually play. Like those three things right there, cloud gaming would blow up. So, I don't know. It never worked from day one, for any service.
Yeah.
So, I'm not a fan. Anyway, you got anything else? Because I'm tapped.
I think that's pretty much everything.
While you were talking, I actually was looking around, and there's nothing.
It's a little dry.
This week was
a little
very
dry in our
very
neck
slow
of
for
the
me.
woods.
Yeah.
I guess that's
I'm
everything.
sure something. Yeah, I'm sure something will happen.
Yeah, this just means that the world
this
will
week.
explode as soon as we stop recording it.
Yeah. All right. Well, I guess we should wrap it up because we don't really have
Very
anything
well.
else to talk about at this point.
Very well.
Okay. Well, if you are still listening, thank you to this slower episode. This is episode 101. Anthony and I, as always, will be back next week to talk about, what goes on this week, and stay. We'll keep you posted. Stay. You know what I'm trying to say. I'm exhausted right
Keep
now.
it together, Jesus Christ, man.
Yeah. Stay tuned. There we go.
There you
go. Yeah. Shit. All right. Well, on that note, I'm gonna get out of here while I can before I make a bigger fool out of myself.
All right.
See everyone next week. Bye.
Bye-bye.